Music is as old as history itself. Since humanity was born, music has been a part of it. Vocal and instrumental sounds combine in a way to produce beauty, form, harmony, and expression of emotions. An art form of ordering tones or sounds in succession, in combination, and in temporal relationships to produce a composition having unity and continuity. Many listen to music as a way to wind down, dance to it, studying, and express an emotion of joy, sadness, anger, hate, love, mourning, sensuality, and so much more throughout history. But then, in the middle of the 20th century, when television was in every household, people could watch their favorite singers and bands perform before a live studio audience. Yet, as time went by, there have been music videos such as the Beatles performing live, people dancing in the studio in the show Soul Train in the 1970s, and Queen's iconic music video Bohemian Rhapsody. But then, a channel arrived in 1981, and everything changed forever. Whether you were a tween or teenager in the 80s, 90s, the 2000s, and 2010s, then you know this channel. How did it go from music to 24 hours of a show where stunts go wrong and people laugh at these videos? Only one way to find out. This is the rise and crushing downfall of MTV. On August 1st, 1981, a channel launched in a super artistic way by showing footage of a shuttle ready to launch. That channel was MTV. Once the rocket lifted off and the astronaut landed on the moon, these immortal words spoken by Warner Cable executive John Lack were heard at 12:01 a.m. when MTV Music Television went on the air for the very first time.
Ladies and gentlemen, rock and roll.
On the first 2 hours of the network's launch, the very first music video that was played was Video Killed the Radio Star by the Buggles, followed by You Better Run by Pat Benatar. Radio stations that played music had disc jockeys, DJs, while MTV gave birth to VJs, video jockeys. The first VJs of the network were Alan Hunter, Martha Quinn, JJ Jackson, Nina Blackwood, and Mark Goodman. MTV Music Television would redefine music by combining stereo and video. It was the first music video channel that in the beginning focused on music videos 24/7 and also had news of showing the latest info about singers, musicians, bands, and music genres in general. Music was never seen the same way ever again after the network's launch. The channel would attract many young boys and girls ages 13 to 18 so they can see the music videos of their favorite singers and rock bands. Many who were there for the launch would say that when MTV was born, the 1980s truly began. Because of MTV, there were various channels that were also dedicated to music that were born, such as BET in 1983 and VH1 in 1985. BET would be a channel that was aimed towards young black Americans. But despite the popularity MTV had, it will be called out on the same year that BET was born. In the first few years of the network, there were very few black artists that were featured. The select few in MTV's rotation between 1981 and 1984 were Michael Jackson, Prince, Eddie Grant, the late Tina Turner, Donna Summer, Joan Armatrading, Musical Youth, The Specials, Living Color, Grace Jones, The Selector, John Butcher, and Herbie Hancock. Other black artists included Mikey Craig of Culture Club, Joe Leeway of Thompson Twins, and Tracy Wormworth of The Waitresses. What caused outrage was when other black artists' videos such as Rick James' Super Freak were rejected by MTV because they did not fit with the channel's carefully selected album-oriented rock format at the time. James was completely outraged and publicly advocated the addition of more black artists to the channel. During an interview with Mark Goodman in 1983, David Bowie questioned the network's lack of black artists during an on-air interview. The channel's original head of talent and acquisitions, Carolyn B. Baker, who was black, would also question why the definition of music had to be so narrow, as did a few others outside the network. Years later, Baker said, "The party line at MTV was that we weren't playing black music because of research, but the research was based on ignorance. We were young, we were cutting edge, we didn't have to be on the cutting edge of racism." However, Baker herself rejected Rick James' Super Freak video because they would have naked women in it, and it was a piece of crap. She felt that as a black woman, she did not want to represent her people as the first black video on MTV. In a 2006 interview, the network's director of music programming, Buzz Brindle, said that MTV was originally designed to be a rock music channel. It was difficult for MTV to find African American artists whose music fit the channel's format that leaned toward rock at the outset. On the 40th anniversary of the network's launch in 2021, the current MTV Entertainment Group president, Chris McCarthy, acknowledged that one of the biggest mistakes in the early years was not playing enough diverse music. But the nice thing that I've always learned at MTV is that we have no problem owning our mistakes, quickly correcting them, and trying to do the right thing and always follow where the audience is going. Michael Jackson's video for the song Billie Jean was the video that broke the color barrier, even though the channel itself was responsible for erecting that barrier in the first place, according to the Austin Chronicle. After Jackson's and Prince's breakthroughs on MTV, Rick James did several interviews where he brushed off the accomplishment as tokenism, saying in a 1983 interview in an episode of Mike Judge Presents Tales from the Tour Bus on James that any black artist that had their video played on MTV should pull their videos off MTV. Despite all this, the network would have a sister channel called BET that became a full-fledged entity, independent of any other channel or programming block in 1983. It is a channel that also started with music videos that were aimed towards young African Americans. Now, MTV did indeed start out as a genre that was aimed at rock and roll, but they should have at least made the effort to find any black rock musicians with amazing talent and give them a platform. But what's done is done, and it cannot be undone. And the best thing to do is to recognize the right and wrongs and be better than before. Three years after its launch, MTV in 1984 premiered its very first annual MTV Video Music Awards, an award show presented by the cable channel to honor the best in music video medium. It was originally conceived as an alternative to the Grammy Awards. This award show ceremony has often been called the Super Bowl for youth, an acknowledgement of the VMA ceremony's ability to draw millions of youth from teens to 20-somethings every single year. By 2001, the VMA had become a coveted award. The VMA trophy always depicted an astronaut on the moon with MTV as a flag. That trophy was called the Moon Man. Music videos since then have been very relevant. Had it not been because of MTV, music videos would not be as popular as they were and are now. Not to forget, these videos would not have an award show where they would be awarded for different categories and musical genres. In 1986, MTV first broadcasted its annual spring break, where many college students hung out at the beach. The first annual spring break of the network inspired so many teens and 20-somethings to yearn and save up for the day that they go to the beach for a chance to be on MTV. Unfortunately, MTV was not profitable enough as they did not get paid by record labels to play these music videos. So the only way to make money was by selling ads, which is how TV channels, YouTube, and Twitch streamers make money. The 80s would be a time for MTV dealing with some financial issues due to not airing fresh music and airing the same music videos in their top 20 over and over again. So it was time for MTV to either evolve or die out. In 1987, MTV would start to have non-music related TV shows such as Remote Control. Remote Control was a Jeopardy-style game show where contestants answered questions about the music industry, and was the first non-music related TV show that helped MTV get back on its feet. There was also an animated 50-second short called Stevie and Soya, about two teenagers thwarting the plans of evil villains, and even Liquid Television as well. As MTV was getting back on its feet, even Latin America got into the action when, between the late 80s and early 90s, MTV would have its Sunday segments on the Hispanic network Telemundo. That Sunday segment on Telemundo was called MTV Internacional, hosted by Cuban-born model and actress Daisy Fuentes, the first Latina VJ who broke barriers. She also broke barriers as Revlon's first Latina spokesperson to be signed to a worldwide contract. Between the mid to late 1980s, MTV would go beyond its centering on rock and roll only as it started in the beginning. In 1987, Headbangers Ball premiered and it centered not only on rock and roll, but also heavy metal. The show was hosted by Vanessa Warwick, Ricky Rachman, and Adam Curry. In the following year, Yo! MTV Raps premiered, hosted by Ed Lover, Conceited, and Dr. Dre. The show was the first MTV rap-themed show that focused on a mix of rap videos, interviews with rap stars, live in-studio performances, and comedy for 2 hours. The show interviewed rap icons like Ice Cube, Wu-Tang Clan, Notorious B.I.G., and Tupac. Shows like these made MTV get back up after some financial difficulties. But little did we knew that the 1990s would be a golden era for the network and cable television in general. As the new millennium was approaching, the 1990s was a golden time for television. Back in the 1980s, very few households ill-afforded cable TV since it was very limited at the time. But once the 1990s arrived, people would start having cable TV boxes and would enjoy watching so many channels. If people wanted to enjoy cartoons, they had channels like Cartoon Network and Nickelodeon. If they wanted educational shows, there were channels like the Discovery Channel, National Geographic, and History Channel. If they wanted sports, there was ESPN. But if they wanted music, of course, there was MTV, VH1, and BET. MTV formed part of that golden age as well. It was still mostly music videos, but this time they got a bit more diverse as it wasn't just rock and roll anymore. It also had rap, hip-hop, pop, R&B, and even Latin American singers will be included as well. Popular singers in that time that were given a platform on MTV were many icons such as Eminem, Ricky Martin, Christina Aguilera, Limp Bizkit, Korn, Britney Spears, Macy Gray, and so many more. By the late 1990s, pop music will be more dominant than rock and roll, with bands such as Backstreet Boys and NSYNC. In 1992, MTV premiered its very first annual movie awards. On that year, the big winner was Terminator 2: Judgment Day. The trophy of this award show was the shape of a bucket of popcorn, unlike the VMA trophy, which was the Moon Man. In 2017, this award show would undergo some changes in which we will talk about later on. In the early 1990s, when it came to music on MTV, there was a TV show called The Grind. It was a dance music show broadcast between 1992 and 1997. It was a show that replaced Club MTV and featured people dancing to their favorite music tracks in the studio, like the successful dance show Soul Train. And much like in Soul Train, teens who sought this show from the comfort of their homes would dance to the tunes while at the same time they would learn some dance moves. The show was hosted by Eric Nice and DJ Jackie Christie. Yo! MTV Raps and Headbangers Ball would end in 1995, while The Grind ended in 1997. Despite these shows ending, the channel still had music videos. That is until, in 1996, NTV2 was born since the main channel was having more non-music content. NTV2 was first known as M2, and focused primarily on what the main channel focused on when it launched in the beginning: music. Unfortunately, not many liked it so much since it was mostly 24 hours of music videos. One popular music-related show in 1998 was Say What Karaoke. It was a show where participants, mostly college students, would sing a popular song in front of a crowd with a music video playing as well, and the lyrics being displayed at the bottom of the screen. The game show is a spin-off of the former MTV show Say What. The crown jewel of music-related content in the 1990s was Total Request Live. The show premiered in September 14, 1998 and was hosted by Carson Daly and a slew of other hosts. The show featured popular music videos played during its countdown and was also used as a promotion tool by musicians, actors, and other celebrities to promote their newest works to the show's target teen demographic. TRL will later be parodied by rapper Eminem called MTV, where he will poke fun at various singers like Britney Spears, NSYNC, Backstreet Boys, and various music videos as well. TRL was aired in Times Square, New York, and so many people will often go there for a chance to be seen on television either in the studio or outside of it. Now, when it comes to non-music related content, the 1990s will be the decade where MTV will truly create culture with so many of its shows. There were animated shows such as The Maxx, a show based on a comic book superhero of the same name by Sam Keith. Beavis and Butthead was another popular series that started out as a short by Mike Judge, but will become a sensation that it spawned movies, video games, and revivals as well. The show was about two teenagers watching music videos on television and also causing and getting into all sorts of troubles and hilarious misadventures. In its 2011 revival, they watched Teen Mom, 16 and Pregnant, and Jersey Shore. But it only lasted one season as it wasn't really good. It has another revival and was a success. Daria was an animated comedy about a brainy, cynical, and sardonic teenager trying to fly under the radar at Lawndale High School. It touched on certain topics such as self-esteem. It was also a very popular animated series. Another popular show was Celebrity Deathmatch. Celebrity Deathmatch was a claymation animated series where celebrities such as movie stars, singers, bands, political figures, historical figures, and even mythological creatures and figures would duke it out against each other to the death. Well-known voices were Mills Lane, Stone Cold Steve Austin, and so many more. MTV was not just a success in its animated shows, but it also redefined television by making reality shows very popular. Starting with the first unscripted reality TV series of the network, The Real World. The show was about 7 housemates in their early 20s of diverse racial, ethnic, and sexual orientation backgrounds living together in the same house for a few months. Each season would take place in different cities and states. These people were strangers that would not usually live with each other, but this show had done something that very few shows were doing at the time, being inclusive. The inclusivity of that show had given people that were heavily underrepresented in the media a platform. Blacks, Latinos, Asians, and the LGBTQ as well. Norman was the first openly bisexual man on television. Another well-known figure of the show was Pedro Zamora, an openly gay man who would later die of AIDS. These people talked about certain topics in the show that were very relevant at the time, such as racism, sexism, AIDS, addiction, religion, politics, sexuality, gender roles, relationships, and sex. The show was very raw and very real. MTV was a network to invent reality television, hence the name of the show, The Real World. The Real World had a sister show called Road Rules, which also featured a diverse cast between 18 to 24 years old. The show was about the cast being stripped of money and contact with friends and family, living together in an RV for a few months, traveling cross-country, and embarking on many missions. The two shows would have a crossover named Road Rules versus The Real World. Another beloved TV series that was a late-night TV show that premiered in July 26, 1999 was called Undressed by British director Roland Joffe. It was a show about sex, intimacy, and relationships. The show also broke barriers as it included interracial couples and same-sex couples as well. Well-known faces in that show were Dante Basco, Pedro Pascal, Brandon Routh, Jay Hernandez, Chad Michael Murray, Katie Sackhoff, Serena Vincent, J. August Richards, Alison Kipperman Sullivan, the late Jason David Frank of Power Rangers fame, and Allison Porter of Curly Sue fame. The 1990s was truly MTV's golden era as it was creating culture. If you were in your early, mid, or late teens at the time, then MTV was truly the channel to watch if you wanted music videos or watch all of these shows like TRL, MTV Unplugged, and so on. Many like myself loved this era on MTV, but it couldn't last forever.
Never fall in love at the Jersey Shore.
It's gonna be an interesting summer.
MTV was still very popular at the turn of the century. The dawn of the new millennium will be a time of great change, both positive and negative. In the 2000s, MTV would do new things that would be a hit, while some were not so much of a hit and aged very poorly. But the early to mid 2000s was when music videos became more diverse than ever before, even more than the 90s. MTV was truly the entertainment industry. When you think of music in the 2000s on MTV, you think not only of Britney Spears, Christina Aguilera, Ricky Martin, and Eminem, but you also think of Shakira, 50 Cent, Jennifer Lopez, Linkin Park, Godsmack, Enrique Iglesias, Lady Gaga, and so many more. Unfortunately, from the mid to late 2000s, MTV would start to lose its identity by drifting further away from what made it an amazing channel in the first place: music. The then CEO of MTV at the time, Van Toffler, stated that at the turn of the century that the novelty of just showing music videos has worn off, so it was required for the channel to be reinvented to a contemporary audience while music will remain the soul of MTV. In the end, it's all about the business. It was a time when people would rather listen to music on their MP3 players and later their iPods until currently their smartphones. With the rise of internet music apps like Napster, Morpheus, Kazaa, Audio Galaxy, FrostWire, and LimeWire, people would rather download music from the comfort of their homes on their computers. But with Morpheus and Kazaa, they would also get to download music videos as well. Nowadays, if people want to listen to music, there is Spotify. The 2000s on MTV was booming with many brand new shows such as The Tom Green Show, Boiling Points, Jackass, Punk'd, Spider-Man, Viva La Bam, Yo Mama, Wild Boys, True Life, Making the Video, Making the Band, Date My Mom, Room Raiders, Dismissed, Parental Control, High School Stories, Next, Pimp My Ride, My Super Sweet 16, Bully Beatdown, Cribs, and so many more. MTV still maintained its popularities with all of these shows. Not to mention, many of these shows will be an influence to so many content creators on YouTube. MTV was truly creating culture and crushing it with all of these ideas that they had. There were various reality shows in the 2000s such as Run's House, which was about the life of Run DMC and hip-hop culture. The Osbournes, which followed Ozzy Osbourne, his family, and heavy metal culture. Newlyweds, Nick and Jessica, which followed Nick Lachey and Jessica Simpson as a married couple in that time and also focused on pop music. The Ashlee Simpson Show, which followed Jessica's younger sister, Ashley Nicole, her music career and pop music as well. And there was also Meet the Barkers, which followed Travis Barker and punk emo culture. Many of these shows totally aged like rancid milk as it was not so interesting. Still, all of these reality shows had their fan base. As for the music was only shown 8 hours a day in 2000. By 2008, music was just shown as 3 hours a day. On that same year, TRL started to lose its popularity and it ended in November 16 after 10 long years of being on the air. Many would say that it's because Carson Daly's departure from the show, but it's not entirely true because many things lose their spark over time. Many of the people who went there back in the 1990s to see their favorite singers are just people who are married with kids. Some of them have successful jobs, while others are in so much college debt and working in retail or in cubicles every day complaining about how life truly sucks. In the mid to late 2000s, with the rise of social media, television was not as popular as it once was anymore. While the music videos killed the radio star in the 1980s, YouTube would kill the music video star as people watch videos of people vlogging about daily life, memes, hilarious insane stunts gone wrong, showing video game playthroughs, reviewing movies, TV shows, comic books, video games, anime, manga, you name them. In 2009, 3 reality shows will premiere and will have massive viewership and following. that would keep the network on its feet. They were Teen Mom, 16 and Pregnant, and the crown jewel, Jersey Shore. Teen Mom and 16 and Pregnant were shows that mainly focus on teenage pregnancy and motherhood. Many people would accuse both shows of promoting teen pregnancy so that teenage girls can get pregnant for a chance to be on the show. But the cast and crew of the show would clearly state that both Teen Mom and 16 and Pregnant were there to show the harsh reality of teenage pregnancy and motherhood to discourage them from getting into it. Jersey Shore is a reality TV series where 8 housemates were living in a vacation house in Seaside Heights, New Jersey. The cast was Paul Del Vecchio, also known as Pauly D, Nicole Snooki Polisi, Mike the Situation Sorrentino, Sammy Sweetheart Giancola, Jenny J. Wild Farley, Ronnie Ortiz Magro, Vinny Guadagnino, Angelina Pivarnik, who left the show after 2 seasons, and Dina Nicole Cortez, who debuted in season 3. The show would focus on the housemates going to work at a clothing shop, working at a gelato shop in Miami, working at a pizzeria in Italy, going to the beach, going to the club at night, and will often go hooking up or smushing, as they would say.
What does it want? Sounds like it wants smush smush. Smush smush. Snooki wants smush smush.
Sometimes the housemates would get into fights with other people, even against each other, like Sammy vs. Jenny in season 2, Snooki vs. Angelina, Sammy vs. Jenny in season 3, and also including that tumultuous and toxic relationship between Ronnie and Sammy, which escalated to a huge breaking point in season 3, and that infamous fight between Ronnie and Mike in season 4. To be fair, Mike was the source of all the drama in season 4 due to his addiction to sleeping pills. Jersey Shore had record-breaking numbers starting with 1.38 million viewers in 2009. Season 2 grew to 5.25 million viewers, and Season 3 had 8.4 million viewers tuned into the premiere and will break to 8.87 millions by Season 3, Episode 3, when Snooki was arrested for public intoxication and disorderly conduct. Jersey Shore, however, would spark controversy as many Italian Americans were protesting the show due to its constant use of the word Guido, which is seen as a slur. The cast was referred to as Guidos and Guidettes, something that many Italian Americans were outraged for. I must admit I was not very fond of the show at first, but then my sister and some friends of mine put me to watch it and they started to grow on me. I started watching season 1 and I had moments laughing and go like, oh! But that fight between Ronnie and Sammy in season 3 was crazy that me and so many others said, they should just break the fuck up and get over it, dude. Man.
Ron and Sam are fighting.
Are you friends with her, yes or no?
Hey, we're going to Ronnie's birthday.
I don't give a fuck.
I got girls cooking me dinner. I've been with you for a year. How many times you cook for me? None, you fucking useless spoiled bitch.
And, of course, we all feel the same when Pauly D said this about them.
If this relationship continues, I'll kill myself.
Exactly. That's all I'm saying.
There'll be no more DJ. I will kill myself if they're still together. I will kill myself.
Jersey Shore sure had its popularity and it still does to this day. Sure, all of these shows in the 2000s brought MTV the dollars, but its popularity was waning. Its sister channels, VH1 and BET, will also follow suit with reality shows. VH1 had shows such as The Flavor of Love, I Love New York, Basketball Wives, Mob Wives Chicago, Cartel Crew, and so on. As for BET, there was College Hill, House of Pain, Games People Play, and so on. When it comes to these networks losing their identity, they can no longer be watchable. What was once considered so cool and applauded as well, over time it can lose its spark due to losing the identity that made it so unique and loved in the first place by including something that had nothing to do with its actual identity.
I want her to be real.
The 2010s will be the decade where most people will lose interest on MTV. By that time, music on MTV was no more as it removed music television from its logo. How so? mainly because the music videos would go on YouTube and the network was no longer about music as it first started. Nowadays, if you want musical fame, then I regret to inform you that MTV is no longer that place to go to. YouTube is the place to go now. In the MTV Movie Awards since 2009 till 2012, the award show felt very biased in its judgment of movies due to the Twilight movies getting the majority of the awards compared to other movies superior to that saga in those times. But hey, it's MTV. Beavis and Butthead had a revival in 2011, but it was cancelled after one season as it did not obtain that much success compared to its debut in the 1990s. Recently, it had another revival, which is so much better than the one from 2011. In August 29, 2011, Ridiculousness premiered for the first time. The show was hosted by Rob Dyrdek and also starred Stilo and Chanel West Coast, known for her iconic laughter in the show. Ridiculousness is a show where Rob, Stilo, Chanel, and a special guest star will react to internet videos involving a series of hilarious, zany, unbelievable, yet very dangerous accidents and failed stunts that went viral. Some say it's a combination of Jackass and America's Funniest Home Videos. On that same year, the 2011 MTV VMAs was the most watched broadcast in MTV history, pulling in 12.4 million viewers, especially with the announcement of Beyonce's pregnancy with her first child. As for the MTV Movie Awards, in 2017, the award show was renamed the MTV Movie and TV Awards, as not only movies will be awarded anymore, but also TV shows as well. Segments such as Best Male Performance, Best Female Performance, Breakthrough Male Performance, and Breakthrough Female Performance were all scrapped. Since then, they became simply known as Best Performance in a Movie and Best Performance in a Show, in favor of gender neutrality and as a way to promote inclusion and diversity.
Thank you to Donald J. Trump for the comedy.
The shows of the 2010s on MTV, aside from Ridiculousness, were the following, such as Awkward, Snooki and JWoww, Catfish, Ghosted, Young Moms, The Hills, The Shannara Chronicles, Scream, Teen Wolf, Teen Mom OG, Teen Mom 2, Jersey Shore Family Vacation, Floribama Shore, and so on. Some of these shows were loved, others were loathed. MTV will also have YouTube shows such as Braless and Decoded. MTV Braless was hosted by sex positivity educator and feminist activist Lacey Green. In this show, Lacey talked about gender and sexuality issues in current pop culture with weekly episodes. She will also talk about slut-shaming, male privilege, and promote sex positivity by getting people to talk about sex in a manner that is not shameful or awkward. She would state that people aren't educated and this creates so many stigmas that don't need to be there. Decoded is a web series hosted by Francisca Ramsey that premiered in 2015. It's a social justice themed comedy show that talks about social issues such as racism, sexism, and so on. Many people did not like it as they felt that the show targeted white people in the most racist manner, such as saying that only whites can be racist, but not blacks and other people of color, because racism is defined in the show as power plus prejudice and privilege. And that the show also promoted its heavy use of political correctness and promoting identity politics. Identity politics is politics based on a particular identity such as race, nationality, religion, gender, sexual orientation, social background, and social class. In 2016, a documentary titled White People was uploaded to YouTube, which talked about white privilege. Many accused it of promoting white guilt and hate towards white people. With the documentary White People and the shows Decoded and Braless, MTV was accused of adopting the BuzzFeed mentality, which is fighting racism, sexism, and homophobia using identity politics. And also, it was accused of catering to the politically correct social justice warriors, or woke scolds, known for constantly complaining on the internet and getting offended over minor things, crude jokes, and tending to point out social disparities where there are none. Many see these people as arrogant, irritating pseudo-activists that pity the rest of the world while painting themselves as saviors. But their counterparts, the anti-SJWs, are no better either, as they tend to attack various forms of media that have diversity because to them, it's all a woke/hidden agenda to put whites, males, and heterosexuals down. But then, MTV would totally hit rock bottom with a video in Christmas 2016 titled 2017 New Year's Resolutions for White People, which was heavily downvoted. On its first upload, it received 100 likes and 10,000 dislikes. The video was then deleted and re-uploaded only to receive 20,000 dislikes. This video has totally aged like rancid milk, as this was not the way to advocate for change. Many found the video as racist, condescending, petty, and stupid. The people against this video would say, this is exactly why Donald Trump won, because of people like this. Some will defend the video by stating that attacking the video is proving their point. What I must say about this video is that it's true that America wasn't always great towards blacks, Latinos, Asians, and LGBT because of slavery, the witch burnings, the Jim Crow laws, prison industrial complex, Proposition 8, and overturning Roe v. Wade. But to downplay the achievements of people of color that truly fought for change and broke barriers to make this country better is stupid. And in that part where one of them says to not prioritize the well-being of an Ivy League athlete over the woman he assaulted, I must say that if he's talking about the Brock Turner case, then I agree with that. Because that case of SA was very poorly handled. Still, the video was terrible and aged like rancid milk, as it felt more like blind generalizations and bringing it down to childishness. 2016 was the year where MTV was at its lowest, but then the higher-ups decided to bring back the music. But it was not going to bring the channel back up to its former glory. They brought back TRL, but unfortunately it was not as successful compared to the other one that we all knew since 1998. When you think of channels like MTV losing their identity, you think of other channels that you grew up watching as a child or teenager, or watching channels with your parents that also lost their identity by including things that had nothing to do with the content that made them unique in the first place. For example, the Bravo Network was once a channel that had classic movies, musicals, and opera, and went to reality shows like Below Deck, The Vanderpump Rules, and the crown jewel, The Real Housewives series. G4 TV went from gaming, pop culture, and technology to shows like Cops, Cheaters, Campus PD, and shows that had nothing to do with the network's identity, which led to its shutting down in 2014. The network was later revived and relaunched in 2021, but it would not last very long due to poor leadership, low viewership, under promotion, pointless competing with YouTube and Twitch streamers, paying its employees with pizza, that infamous rant, and so on. History Channel went from historical docuseries to pawn shops, aliens, and religion. Discovery Channel went from shows about nature and wildlife to street outlaws and Naked and Afraid. Animal Planet went from wild animals to domesticated animals. And last but not least, Cartoon Network had a huge library of cartoons, but now it's mostly marathons of Teen Titans Go and reruns of Amazing World of Gumball, Adventure Time, etc. Food Network at least still has its identity to being about one thing, food. But some days of the week are mostly marathons of Chopped, Beat Bobby Flay, Guys Grocery Games, Diners, Drives, and Dives, etc. And finally, on August 1st of 2021, the network's 40th anniversary, there was no retrospective, no old school music videos playing, no old school shows, and no documentaries about the network airing on the channel. It was nothing more than 24 hours of ridiculousness. And finally, in conclusion, MTV was once a channel that we all grew up watching and loving for its musical content, its many amazing shows, its award shows, but now it has become a shadow of its former self. Some of the shows that we loved in the 1990s are now on apps like Paramount Plus, Peacock, and so on. Cable TV had its glory days, but with the rise of social media and streaming apps like Netflix, Hulu, Peacock, Disney, Paramount Plus, Freevee, and Tubi, there is nothing on cable to love anymore. All these days are over, because the cool things can slowly lose their spark over time. Everything comes to an end, but in every end, there is a new beginning, whether glorious or tragic. This was the rise and crushing downfall of MTV. Thank you all for watching. This is John of Video Games and the World, signing off.